there everybody, it's markcrilley. I'm back with another how to draw video. Today we're going to be learning how to draw 3 different hairstyles using the exact same base here. This drawing, it's not the original drawing, this is the original drawing. I scanned it into my computer. And what I'm going to try to do is do the drawings in such a way that when I complete them, they can kind of magically vanish, and we start again with the exact same base. Now, the first one I want to do, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to be drawing a, is it called a pixie cut when the haircut is very, very short? I never, you guys know me, I never know the words for anything. But let's just say it's called a pixie cut. She's going to have very, very short hair. I know I've done lots of videos on how to draw hair, but I've definitely never done one showing really, really short hair on a female or a male. I don't think even for either I've done that. But anyway, I'm beginning by drawing a line across the forehead to sort of establish the hairline. And then I've decided that it's going to be somewhat spiky hair, so I'm going to go ahead and start putting in little spikes. Now, there's not going to be a part. It's not like we're going to show a line right here, but there's still going to be an aspect of, you know, the hair coming, the direction of each individual strand of hair being related to a kind of a part. Let's say that there's the parting of ways for the hair is back here, as it often is, toward the back of the scalp or toward the top of the crown of the head. And because of that, here we see hair coming down. It's going to be sort of pointing down in this direction. And then as it goes across the forehead, it's all going to be heading off, curving gently, in this case down across the forehead just a little bit. I didn't want to cheat this though and try to make it, you know, extra long in one section so as to, I don't know, preserve what people often think of as a feminine look. I wanted to really keep the hair very short all the way around and see if we can, you know, maintain the look of a female character without having the hair super long. Now, of course, in real life, we see women with short hair all the time, and the whole concept of men having short hair, women having long hair, is of course a kind of a stereotype, isn't it? It's not. There's nothing written in stone that hair should be this way. But I think when you get into the realm of drawing, very often you have an extra challenge there to convey femininity in your drawing, if you've given the character very short hair. Now notice here I had it kind of curving down across the forehead. Up here, as I work on the contour, it's kind of curving up and away in this direction. I've created a little bit of space up here. This is the actual scalp. I'm keeping this fairly realistic. Sometimes in manga, they'll make a gigantic hair contour that sort of suggests either a mammoth-sized cranium or else, which is more likely the case, it's just a stylistic choice that they're not holding themselves down to the restraints of reality, let us just say. But I'm trying as best I can to make the length of this hair correspond to what we would see in real life. Why am I talking like such a scientist? We must make it correspond to what we see in real life. Sometimes I get carried away in my efforts to remain articulate. In any case, you can see I've down here we've got the hair. There's a part, kind of a part here actually, where it stops curving toward the head and begins to curve away again. And then over here, we'll be again following the scalp, but curving down as we go across. Sometimes you see the Hollywood actresses for a movie role, they need to completely shave their head or whatever, and then you'll see the glamour photos in the months that follow, you know, after the movie is completed, as they have extraordinarily short hair, and yet they still look great because they're Hollywood movie actresses. But that's sort of an interest. If you're looking for photo reference on how to draw a character with really short hair but still looks quite feminine, you can maybe check out some of those do a Google image search for any Hollywood actress. Like I looked at one of Natalie Portman, I think for some sort of role. She had to have her hair cut very short, and so you would see her on the red carpet with the really strikingly short hair. But she's Natalie Portman. She can make that work. I can't make any hairstyle work, no matter what I have. So there you go. That's kind of the basics. Now, you may be wondering, what about the details within the contour of the hair? And up here, back where I said there's kind of a part, that would be a place where almost like a starburst of lines, I noticed, again, in like photo reference, of the hair emanating from this one place. And then it's like almost like a parting of a river here. These lines curving down here across the side of the head, and then over here, though it's not, there's no line coming across here. You do indeed begin to see the hair separating into two different directions. So even with very short hair, you have to have some kind of plan for the structure. You're not just drawing randomly a whole bunch of lines going all over the place. You're sort of thinking about a pattern of some kind, an organizational, and now I'm back to the scientist, an organizational structure as you establish a strategy for drawing hair. Maybe that'll be one of my new voices, the ridiculous scientist voice. Let me know what you think, guys. We can put it into rotation if you like it. Otherwise, just say, never again. Anyway, that gives you the basics of that. I am going to use some time-lapse in this video. Guys, you know me, I love time-lapse. I'm going to go ahead and use time-lapse to finish this off, but I'll just let you know I'm using my usual trusty black Prismacolor, black-colored pencil. I'm going to come in with some gray markers just to add a bit of color, and I may even come in with my beloved white gouache to add a few highlights. Alright, so there we have our first version of the hairstyle, and now through the magic of video editing, actually not so magical, I'm just going to remove this piece of paper and try to put as close as possible into the exact same location the original version that you saw before. Then we're going to draw a different hairstyle right there on top of it. So let's go ahead and crossfade into the base drawing for adding another hairstyle. All right, so there we have it. Did it sort of feel like magic? Were you like looking at that fadeaway and you're like, dude, how did you do that? I'm sorry, I had to do a little bit of the surfer voice there. Time to start over again with the hairline. This time I'm going to be doing a kind of a updo. Those of you who have been watching my videos for a while, you may recall that I did a video that was devoted to two different types of updos. That time, though, the faces were very much pretty close to profile, being seen in profile. This time, of course, it's a 3/4 point of view. And if you ask me, you can't have too many updos. I think it's a wonderful way of doing hair, and I'm always intrigued to learn how to draw it myself and then pass on to you guys my tips. So you saw I did the hairline. Now I'm starting to put in some of the big subsections of hair that will be combing back. I mean, it's almost, you can see a sort of the widow's peak going on here. And what I'm doing is starting at the hairline and then having these lines curve back to a point that we won't actually see, but we sort of imagine the hair as being held in place back there. Now, last time you saw I kept the line, the contour pretty close to the scalp. This time, because I feel the hair is sort of piled up, I'm going to create a bigger gap here going across. But otherwise, that's not like I'm planning this all out in advance. It's a little bit like, trial and error. Or going with the flow, and I'm just sort of putting in some wider sections, some narrower sections. When I come over here to the far side of her forehead, I'm going to have another one of these sort of parted areas that I was talking about in the previous version, with hair coming, up and back over here, and then over here it's tilting down in completely the opposite direction. And you could even imagine that there is a very definitive part over there. We don't know because she's turning away from us. Conveniently, I don't have to draw it. But all of this kind of curving back in a similar direction. I thought as we came over here to the side of her head, the hair might start to tilt down even a little more, a bit more dramatically. I've always felt that when you see a woman with her hair pulled up high like this, that there's a sort of a sculptural aspect to the hair. You see all these interesting shapes. And to me, it's always kind of miraculous. Sometimes you see a woman quite casually, a woman with very long hair just pulls that hair back up and throws a clip on it without even trying, seemingly, and it looks great, Well, I suppose you have to be gifted in the hair to begin with. Some people just have great hair, right? But I do think that either it's practice or just by nature, hair tends to look pretty good when it's pulled up and back like this, in my opinion anyway. So you can see me sort of creating a contour all across here and varying that contour so it feels like there's sort of different areas, that it isn't all just sort of pulled back in the exact same tightness. And indeed, you can see, like with a ballerina or something, sometimes the hair is pulled back at exactly the same tightness. It gets very tight on the scalp and very smooth and uniform. I'm trying to get something that has a little more variety to it back there. And, of course, if the hair is long to begin with and being pulled back, we're going to have to see some indication of it back here, right? So that's what I'm going to do, is get in some contour lines here. I hope people don't mind that I've decided to have this video focus mainly on the structure, and when I get to the coloring part of it, I am indeed just time-lapsing on through. If you'd like me to do a separate video that's more about my approach to adding color and whitewash and that kind of thing, let me know. I'd be happy to do that. Maybe I could even take one of these hairstyles, basically the same, and then just do that time-lapse and then do the coloring part real time. Let me know if you'd like to see that. And here I've sort of broken it into two separate sections. Not even sure if that makes sense, but I kind of like the look of it. It seems to me there's all kinds of possibilities once you get the hair pulled up back here, the way it can be, held in place and separated into subsections. I go back to my scientist voice. The subsections of the subdivisions. Anyway. I thought it would be nice to have some loose hair back here. When I did my character Talia for Brody's Ghost, she has quite a lot of loose strands of hair kind of flying off in all directions. I'm not going to go quite so far as that, but you can see I've added two strands off here that are curving toward her. I thought to enliven things a bit, I'd have one strand that goes in the opposite direction. And then I think back here, sometimes you see just little curls of hair when the hair is pulled up off the neck. I hope I'm getting that right, but sometimes there's some little strands of hair there. And that's getting us pretty close to where we want to be. I thought, in keeping with this loose strand of hair idea, I could have one over here that looks like just a sort of loose strand, even just like 2 or 3 hairs together that have come loose. Just to enliven things so that things don't look too battened down. batten down the hatches. And there we go. I think we've got enough here for me to go in and add the color. As I said, I have been using marker. You saw last time I started with the marker. My theory was that I didn't want the marker to blend too much with the black colored pencil. But I'm going to go ahead and add the color. I'm going to carry all the way through to the gouache stage, and then we'll be ready for our third version of her hairstyle. Okay, so there we have this second version. Does take quite a bit more time, I must say, in the coloring. I guess, as you would expect, with longer hair and more different subsections and subdivisions. Somebody stop me. It does. You just have to spend more, put a little more time into adding lots of colors, and even just the highlights. Like I decided with the earlier one to skip the highlights. I couldn't imagine that there would be very many highlights in such a short haircut. So anyway, but I think it's worth it. And indeed, as I said, I created a character who had a kind of an updo that had guaranteed I'd be spending a lot of time drawing her hair for more than 550 pages or whatever it was for Brody's Ghost. Well, enough of this. Let's go ahead and use my magical powers to make this disappear. We're going to go back to that base drawing one more time, and this time we're going to draw a long hairstyle. So in doing a long hairstyle, we don't need to see the entire hairline at the top of the forehead, at least the way I'm doing this. I'm going to have just this one side of it visible, and I'm going to come over here and create a kind of big flopping down section of hair that comes right across here pretty dramatically. I want to keep the eye visible. So that's my one thing that I'm keeping in mind here as it comes across, and I want to have it go all the way down here. I'll probably finish that off later on when I get to doing the back of her hair, but I wanted to sort of give you a clearer idea of how this is, this is being brushed up from her forehead, and these lines, these structural lines down here are helping us to understand how that all forms one area down underneath, whereas above it is this sort of cascading, almost looks like a ribbon to me, of hair. Now what happens is you get one of these, and then you have to make, I feel, you can't have all of them coming down in exactly the same way. So what I try to do in a situation like this is to create a contrasting ribbon, if that's what we're going to call it, over here that comes back in a slightly different direction, right? So it's not too uniform. I think one of the challenges of drawing hair in general is you want it to look natural and a little bit random, and yet to get it looking that way, it almost has to be, there has to be some structure to it. You can't just be tossing lines down without thinking about it. You have to have a theory of where the hair is emanating from. In this case, very clearly we have a part. I keep talking about how creating a part in the hair is important for coming up with a structure. Well, here it's just absolutely crucial. You understand that the hair is parted right back along that side of the head, and then you're able to come up with your hair structure accordingly. Without that sense of where the part is in the hair, I wouldn't know where to put all these lines. I just wouldn't know. I mean, I would need somebody to tell me, is what I'm saying. What was that? Was that a Brooklyn voice? It almost sounded like, what's his name? John Travolta from the old days. Anywho, I'm going to come across here, and where I want it to be fairly long hair. I suppose it's not going to be the very longest type of long hair style that you could find, but it's going to come. I want to have one section come across here and sort of flow across her shoulder a little bit. I think at this point maybe I am creating a somewhat stylized type of hairstyle. I don't know. It's maybe defying gravity a little bit. You'd need a lot of mousse or something to make this work, because I want this one to kind of curl across like so. So we have almost like an S shape here. But behind that, I want an even longer, straighter section to come. I'm reaching the bottom of my video frame here, so I got to be careful. But anyway, it's dividing this area back here into two sections, much as I did here. You know, if you had just a whole bunch of straight lines, it's not as interesting visually as when you have like this section curving across here, and then this one behind it a little more straight. Does that make sense? Does anything I'm saying make sense to you? I hope it does, because it makes no sense to me. And having put this in place, I think I'm going to just sort of fill in this area here. Again, trying to sort of contrast against this initial one. And I did, now that I know how this is going to work back here, I think I will have this kind of circle back here and curve around in a way that hopefully looks graceful. How's that? Good enough, huh? And we've got this then in place largely, but we got this whole other area over here, which I think is going to really complete the look in a nice way. At least I hope. And this one will also sort of conform to my theory of having separate sections that contrast with one another. And you may notice that I'm kind of deliberately drawing, you know, the strand that I want to be in the front, I draw first, because then I don't have to erase anything. I've decided that this is a strand of hair that's curving back toward her, looping back toward her. This one's going to be in front. And then I'm going to have a contrasting area that comes down here behind, maybe flowing a little bit behind the shoulder. It is sort of interesting, even now, you know, not having the other versions of this woman's hairstyle in front of us. I think you can already see what a dramatically different feeling you get when you change the hairstyle. Even though the face is, in this case, you know, absolutely identical, since I just scanned it and used it's like a photocopy. But suddenly she looks kind of like a different person almost. And it'll be interesting to see what people are always trying to organize these things. Well, the first one you did was when she was young. And now, right? And the middle one, she was in high school, and now she's joined the workforce and is 27 and a half years old. People do tend to like to put a narrative onto these drawings, and I think that's human nature. But maybe you can come up with some story as to why this woman's hairstyle changed so much. Or maybe it's three sisters who look very similar but have different hairstyles. Triplets? Could be. Anyway, that gives us the basics of the hairstyle. I'm going to do just as I have done before. Use the markers, use the black Prismacolor, and use the white gouache for highlights. We'll finish this off, and then I'll be back with a few final words. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the third illustration. Many thanks to Old Man Timelapse, who helped me speed through so much of this video. Gotta mention him. He doesn't like it when I don't mention him by name. It's in my contract! Read the fine print! Anyway, I'm going to do something a little unusual. I'm going to take all three of the illustrations, scan them into the computer so that we can see them side by side in one final image. All right, well, there you have it, the three different hairstyles compared. Let me know what you thought of this video. I had a lot of fun doing it. It is kind of interesting to see, you know, the exact same face with three different hairstyles and see how drastically different they can look. But, you know, this video can't be finished until I add the blushies. And I think this video just goes to show you, it doesn't matter how you change your hairstyle. You always blush the exact same way. Oh boy. Did that make any sense at all? Probably not. Hang on a second, I'm going to go grab my books. So that I can thank anyone who has supported me by getting them, we've got the Miki Falls and Brody's Ghost graphic novel series. Also, the Realism Challenge, my book on hyper-realistic illustration techniques. The Drawing Lesson, my graphic novel that teaches you how to draw. And the very latest book, Mastering Manga 3. I really can't say how grateful I am to those of you who choose to support me by ordering those books. But let's go ahead and lay down this pencil. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. And I'll be back with another one real soon.